Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. My name is Brianna and this is 4 Paws in a Book. I make bookish videos over here on my little corner of the internet, so if that's something that you're interested in, make sure that you hit the subscribe button down below. Today we're going to be talking about some anticipated releases for the first quarter of 2024. So I like to do these videos where I break up the year into 4 quarters, so January, February, March, and talk about some books that are coming out. I may have gone a little bit overboard this time. There are so many good books that I'm interested in, either because they are authors that I have read from and loved before, or like covers just got me, and like synopsises. So here we are. I normally only do about 10 books for a whole quarter that I am excited about. I have 20 on this list today, so we're going to talk about them. I probably won't talk in depth about it, but I will give you kind of a brief synopsis and why it's on this list. But without further ado, let's just talk about it. These aren't necessarily books that I'm like gonna go out and pre-order, but they are ones that are on my radar, and if I'm seeing some good reviews, then I will definitely pick it up. The first one comes out on January 2nd, and that is Midnight by Amy McCullough. Now, I read Breathless by Amy McCullough this spooky season as part of my Choose Your Own Adventure vlog, and I actually really had a good time with it. And this is a very similar premise but in a different location, and isolated thrillers are one of my favorite things, especially when you add in like hazardous elements. This is about a once-in-a-lifetime trip to Antarctica that seems great but ends up in a desperate battle for survival. There's a killer that is determined to follow them to the ends of the earth, quite literally. While Breathless was not necessarily something that was like, you know, groundbreaking or did anything phenomenal, it was such a fun popcorn thriller that I have a feeling that this is going to be very similar. On January 9th, we have 2 books that are coming out that I'm really excited about. The first one is Mislaid in Parts Half Known by Shauna McGuire. This is book 9 in the Wayward Children series. And this is a series that I absolutely love. It has such a strong found family element. There are such diverse characters in this series, and it's like so incredibly queer. It's fantastic. And this is one of those books that like I don't even really know what it's about, but A, it has dinosaurs on it, so like that's cool. And B, like I'm so invested in this series already. I read it every single year when this one comes out, so I know that I'm gonna like immediately jump into this book. I actually have an arc of this one, so it'll actually probably be my first book of 2024, just like to start strong. But this series is essentially about these kids that can create these portal universes to kind of cope with their horrible realities of life, and each one is a different story, and some of them take place at this school for the children that when they come back to their realities, a lot of times they have a hard time coping. So sometimes they take place in like the real world, and sometimes the books take place in the like inside the portal universes or the portal worlds. The last one took place in the mortal world, so I assume that the next one will take place in this portal world with the dinosaurs. That's kind of a good guess. This next one, also coming out on January 9th, was a complete cover pick. It was actually one that when I purchased the holiday edition of Fourth Wing, it brought up the, hey, you might also be interested in this book, because it's also getting a really pretty edition with like sprayed edges and stuff. So I may have bought it, but it actually has a lot of buzzwords for me. This is a circus, which, like, you know, we love a circus, but this one's dark. I'm just gonna read you the synopsis because it's fascinating. Enter at your own risk and discover the greatest show unearthed. For humans, the circus is a place filled with wonder and amazement. For Harrow, though, it's a place to hide from those that slaughtered her entire clan. She has to disguise her abilities by being part of the act of the circus, and then it says, until he arrives. We don't know who he is. He's a strange new attraction. He has no name. He has these mysterious powers. Beneath the layers of anger and isolation, one glimpse into his inky eyes reveals a soul that calls out to the loneliness in her own. So I think it's gonna be like a dark fantasy romance, and I am here for this. Also, it's just a really pretty cover. I'm very afraid that I'm putting too high of expectations on this book, but I hope it's good. Then there are 3 coming out on the 16th that I am excited about. The first one I'm hesitant, but I'm hopeful. That is The Fury by Alex Michaelides. I loved The Silent Patient. Listen, don't know if I still would, because it's one of the first thrillers that I ever read, but I was floored by that ending, by that plot twist. But I ended up actually DNFing the other one, the Dark Academia one. The Maidens? That's it. I don't know. We're gonna have to see if that was just a one-off and that this one will hopefully turn it around for me. I've actually seen some pretty good early reviews of this book, so I am hopeful. But this is about a reclusive ex-movie star, like former movie star, and it's on this private Greek island, but there's a murder. So that could be fun. Sounds like another isolation thriller. And listen, if The Silent Patient was not a one-off and like we have some plot twist similar to that book, I can get on board with that. Also coming out on January 16th is Midnight Ruin by Katie Robert. This is the 6th book in the Dark Olympus series and another one that I am super excited for. I am caught up with this series. I'm up to date. So I'm really excited for this one. This is also going to be a poly romance. There are 3 characters, I believe, in this one. Do I know who they are or how to pronounce them? No, I do not. I don't know how to pronounce it because I'm not Greek, nor do I know how to say the Greek names. Anyways, let's just move on. I'm very excited about this. I love Katie Roberts' books. They're always a great time. And this series has really expanded, right? So like at the beginning, like the first book or two, it's very much like the singular characters or the couples and you can kind of read them on their own. But now this plot has expanded beyond a single book and there is a ton of politics. There's some serious backstabbing going on. We've got some courtroom drama and I'm here for that. So this is such a fun book and I enjoy every installment of it. They've all been like at least 4 stars. And then there are 2 books that are coming out on January 23rd that I'm very excited about. They're both cover buys. The first one is The Last Immortal by Natalie Gibson, and this is a fantasy horror. And first off, cover gorgeous. And this is about a woman who is immortal and her life is full of violence and cruelty, but then she's taken to like an asylum for lunatics. That is what it's called here. That's not my words. She's basically imprisoned because they think that she killed her parents, and she is forced to endure the torture of this insane asylum. But then someone who seems to be this kind benefactor comes and rescues her. Then she's betrothed to marry him, but then he's a part of a cult. So it seems like it's gonna be a ride and a half. This has a ton of trigger warnings in it, so definitely take that into effect when you are looking into this book. But it seems like it's gonna be a good time. And then this is actually like a reprint, I think, but I think it was written a while ago, but they're doing a reprint of it with some like pretty sprayed edges and stuff. So it got me, but that is Gothicana by Rue Nix. And this is a dark gothic inspired Beauty and the Beast meets Dracula with an erotic romance plot. I don't know. Seems like a lot, but that seems like such an interesting mashup of stories to like do a retelling of, and so I am intrigued. All right, moving into February, the first one on February 6th is The Teacher by Frida McFadden, another psychological thriller. I have a lot of thrillers on this list this year. Anyways, I've never actually read a book from Frida McFadden, or that's a lie. I think I DNF'd one of her indie ones. I can't remember what it was called, but I've heard really good things about her newest ones, like The Housemaid and The Housemaid's Secret. I think is like a duology. Anyways, this is her newest one, and it's about a teacher, and it's like a revenge story. I don't know. I really want to give her books a try, and so I thought this might be a good place to start. February 13th is going to be bad for my wallet. Just bad, okay? There are 5 books that I am interested in that all come out on that same day, so that's exciting. The first one is At First Bite by Olivia Dade. I'm gonna be perfectly honest with you. The minute I saw Olivia Dade had a new book and the start of a new series, I immediately clicked pre-order. This is a book that I think is gonna be absolutely hilarious, and Olivia Dade does plus-size romances so perfectly. All 3 of the last series were 5 stars. They were favorite books of the year, so I have no doubt that she's going to do this again. And this is about a woman who buys an apartment or a house in between her ex-fiance and her ex-fiance's brother, and it's called the Spite House because it's like only 10 feet long or 10 feet wide, and like for some reason like it makes it difficult for the both of the other. I don't know. It's called the Spite House. But then like now she's, you know, she bought it as a wedding gift to her now ex-fiance. She bought it as a wedding gift, but since the wedding is called off, she now lives in the house house that's attached to her ex-fiancés. So that's fun. And then I think that there's going to be a romance between her and the brother, which is awkward, but like Olivia Dade will make it work. Then we have An Education in Malice by S.T. Gibson. This is the author of A Dowry in Blood, which I absolutely loved. It made my best books of the year that I read it. And so I'm really excited to read their new book. And I think this is similar or like in the same universe as A Dowry of Blood. It doesn't say that it's a series, but it's like the same kind of story, and it has Carmilla in it, but it's dark academia. So I have hopes for this. We'll see. I don't know. I really want to like dark academia, but they're hit or miss for me. I'm really hopeful this one's gonna work though. Then we have The Hollow Dead by Darcy Coates. This is the 4th book in the Gravekeeper series. I'm currently reading the 2nd one and really enjoying it. This is like a cozy horror. I want to say that this is probably the most cozy of all of Darcy's books. I think that this is a great place for you to start with Darcy's books, specifically if you're not a horror reader. Because there's nothing like super terrifying in these books. It is about a woman who can see ghosts. It very much resembles like City of Bones by Victoria Schwab. It's kind of like that, but an adult version of it. But like it's not super scary. There's just a lot of tension and a lot of like atmosphere that makes it scary. But it's not like there's no gore or anything like that, at least so far in my read of it. But anyway, I hope to be caught up for this release in February. Like I said, I'm reading the 2nd book right now, and like maybe I can get to the 3rd one in January. We'll see. Then we have The Friendship Study by Ruby Barrett. Now this seems like it's out of left field. This is a contemporary romance, but Ruby Barrett is the person who wrote The Romance Recipe, which I absolutely loved, a steamy sapphic romance, and this is her 2024 release. And this is a Friends Deliver story. It's about a man who is was going to be a firefighter, but then was injured, so he couldn't take the job or like didn't pass his certification. He also is dealing with a family member who has Alzheimer's, and he gets called up by a friend who is doing a like paid psychology test or class or something like that, and they need an experiment. And so he's like, okay, well, this is some extra cash, like sure. And I think that this might have some sort of second chance aspect to it. I don't think the two of them dated before, but I think they had like some tension, and they're like, you know, forced proximity maybe. We don't know. I don't know. I just know that The Romance Recipe was fantastic. And this was actually like a late addition to my anticipated reads list. I was doing my AuthorWorks tracker for 2024 and saw this book on there and like was like, oh, immediately. So we'll see if my request for NetGalley gets approved. And then lastly, coming out on February 16th is How You Get the Girl by Anita Kelly, another queer romance. We're just living for that. And this is lovingly called The Basketball Book. And it's about a basketball coach, like she's a high school basketball coach, and then there is somehow, I don't know if she's like a parent of one of the kids, I don't really know, but she was a former WNBA star, and she kind of like comes in and like fills like the unofficial assistant basketball coach, and then like they're gonna have a romance. It's gonna be cute. It's gonna be a great time. We love a good sports romance. Then on February 20th, we have A Tempest of Tea by Hafsa Fazal. This is the author who wrote We Hunt the Flame, and I was sold when it's pitched as Leigh Bardugo's Six of Crows, but with vampires. It's a heist novel. There is found family, there's a group of misfits, and there's a prestigious tea house that turns into a blood house. Because, you know, vampires. That makes sense, right? I'm excited about this one. Plus the cover is gorgeous. And then also coming out on February 20th, I am hesitant about this one. I don't know that I'm gonna immediately pick it up, but that is The Ashire King by Chelsea Abdullah. This is the 2nd book in the Sandsea trilogy. The first one being The Stardust Thief, which is kind of a loose gender bent retelling of Aladdin. It's got kind of a Middle Eastern inspired fantasy, and I liked that first book. I didn't love it. Like I gave it 3 stars. I think I had higher expectations for it because it was comped to City of Brass, and I love that book so much. So I didn't love The Stardust Thief, but I am willing to continue on with the series. I don't know that it'll be like immediately though. All right, and then moving into March, I don't have a ton for March. On March 18th, we have the Succubus Prize by Katie Robert. This is her, I think, final book in the Deal with a Demon series, which started off with The Dragon's Bride. Like this one is a ridiculous romance. romance. But it's a fun time. I mean, these books are probably my least favorite of all of hers, but monster romances are like something that I'm not necessarily like, I don't read a lot of. I think Katie Roberts like one of probably 3 authors I've read that are monster romances, but you know, it's Katie Roberts, so I'm still gonna read it. Then coming out on March 26th, we have Cover Story by Rachel Lacey. This is the same person who wrote Read Between the Lines, which I read during Rom-Comathon earlier this year and like had a really good time with it. This is a sapphic romance. The other one was sapphic as well, and this is about a Hollywood star who has kind of a media frenzy, and so she needs some extra security, but she wants to keep it under wraps, and she doesn't want like the media attention being like, oh, she has to have security, blah blah blah. So she has a sexy bodyguard who is also posing as her girlfriend, and it's gonna be a good time. We have fake dating plus bodyguard romance. Sign me up, say less. And then finally, also coming out on March 26th is Everyone is Watching by Heather Gutenkopf. I read The Overnight Guest last year, I believe, and really liked it, but I haven't read anything else from her, so we'll see what happens. But this is 5 contestants on a game show where one person will be the lucky winner of $10 million. None of them know what to expect, and the game show is like broadcast all over the world. They're completely secluded on an estate in Northern California, and the competitors start to feel a little bit isolated. Secrets start coming out. I'm sure that it's going to be like there are 5 people who you think at the beginning are strangers, but really they have some sort of interaction together, and like so secrets are going to start coming out. Because the tagline says, when long kept secrets begin to rise to the surface, the contestants realize this is no longer just a reality show, someone is out for blood. So I think it's gonna be a really fun thriller. I don't know, we'll see. Action-packed at least, and psychological, which like that's a buzzword for them. All right, so those are a lot of books that are coming out in the first quarter of the year. Let me know what I missed, because I'm sure I did. Even though there are 20 books on this list, I probably missed some good ones. I don't know. It's kind of hard for me to find the indie books that are coming out, simply just because I don't have access to a lot of that, and also they're usually not announced super far in advance. So most of these are traditionally published. If you're not feeling chatty, do the disco ball emoji. I don't know why. That'll be fun. That's all I have for you today. If you're new here and you haven't yet subscribed, there's a little button that you can do so down below the video. If you'd like to hang out with me more, the links to my Instagram, Goodreads, Twitter, and my Patreon are linked in the description below. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye!